Hey everyone, this is Car Ray Rob.
Where I'm Ray.
And I'm Rob, and we want to welcome you to our podcast, Say Hello to My Little Film.
Hey there, it'll be just a little while till Ray and Rob spit their spittle. Come on, check out of the hospital. So grab some of your best peanut brittle. This will be a darn good transmittal. And say hello to my little film.
Yes, and welcome once again, everyone, to another episode of Say Hello to My Little Film. Rob, this is your last episode of 2025. Do you want to tell everybody what you're going to do here?
Absolutely. On Say Hello to My Little Film, Ray and I take turns recommending movies that we love to the other to see if we can get them to love them as much as we do. And as Ray said, this is my episode.
Yes, we call this our fresh perspective on a retrospective review. And Rob, this is your last chance to knock my socks off.
And I think I'm going to do it. I've been saying for a couple of weeks, as
You've
I'm
been
sure
excited.
you remember, that I've been very excited.
You've been
to show you
saving this movie.
I have. Full disclosure, I almost showed you this movie last December.
Oh, it's been on the list for a minute.
It has, but I ended up going with The Silent Partner.
You did.
And I almost had instant regret, not because I don't like The Silent
And
Partner,
I like
but
The Silent
because
Partner
and
a lot.
and that's what made up for it.
Yeah.
But I really love this movie. It's a classic. It is black and white.
Okay.
So I began the year in a black and white movie. I'm gonna end the year
Nice.
on a black and white movie, but it is not from the '80s like Down by Law. It is from the '60s. Before I
Okay.
give too much away.
So it's allowed to be in black and white since it's older.
Exactly.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess I have one quick question I'd want to ask you.
Oh yeah.
Rob, what do you got?
What do you got? What do you got? What do you got?
Ray, what I got is the 1960 romantic comedy, The Apartment.
The Apartment, you said.
It is written, directed, and produced by the iconic Billy Wilder.
That's wild.
It is. It stars Jack Lemmon
Okay.
and Shirley MacLaine
Oh, wow.
and Fred MacMurray.
I don't know if I've ever seen Shirley MacLaine this young.
You might not have, and that's a very fair point. And she is magnetic
Not shocked.
in this movie.
Not shocked.
And you shouldn't be. So The Apartment revolves around Jack Lemmon, who plays an insurance clerk who is looking to climb the corporate ladder. And to do this, he has started to allow his superiors to use his apartment, because he's a bachelor, lives by himself, for their extramarital affairs.
Okay.
And
Very 1960s.
it is very 1960s. It feels a little bit like Mad Men. But yeah, and this kind of, all the while he's kind of got this crush on Shirley MacLaine, and things kind of take some twists and turns. And this is one of my favorite romantic comedies ever, if not my favorite romantic comedy
I
ever.
have some questions about how they've met in this movie, but I think I'd rather see in the movie than have you tell me.
I can definitely agree with that. Like I said, this is a classic movie. Like I said, black and white. Billy Wilder is just, a genius in every way that you could have been a genius. A great director, a great writer, and I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think this is his best movie. But
Oh, wow.
we'll have to. You're going to have to be the one to decide that.
I'll be very interested to do so. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
If you're out there and you're in the same shoes as me, where you haven't seen The Apartment yet, then take this opportunity to pause the podcast, because me and Rob are going to go watch it
Oh,
anyway.
we're going to watch it, and you're going to watch it, and you're going to love it. I know it.
I hope so, because I do not want to have this conversation if I don't. I really don't want to upset you in our last
I
episode.
don't. I feel like I'm building it up too much. Am I building it up too much?
Well, there's only one way to find out.
we're going to find out.
We're going to watch it. So
We're
again,
gonna watch
if
it.
you haven't seen The Apartment, or even if you haven't seen it recently, pause the podcast, go check it out. When you're done, come back, unpause the podcast, and listen to me and Rob talk about it, and see if I love The Apartment as much as Rob wants me to.
Woohoo!
Ray and Rob are currently watching The Film. You may be also watching The Film. If you're not, then you're listening to me say that Ray and Rob are watching The Film. They'll be right back when they're done watching The Film.
All right, everyone, we are back from the apartment. We have placed the key back under the mat, and we even decided it would be nice to leave CC Baxter a little bit of money to be able to restock the liquor
Yeah,
cabinet.
we
'Cause
drank a
those
lot of
guys
his
were-
booze.
Those guys were jerks.
No, yeah. If you're going to drink somebody's stuff, like, you got to replace it, man. You can't
Right.
just, like, leave him a... I mean, he's basically doing, like, bed and breakfast stuff back, like, way before it was popular.
Right?
The only problem is he's still living there.
Yeah. I mean, you know, he had, and they seemed like they owed him money. It's like, oh, you know, buy a bottle of this and put my
Yeah.
name on it, and I'll pay you back. And he's like, you haven't paid me for the last one. I'll get you next week. It's like,
Yeah.
good Lord, man, this guy's, you know, giving you a free place to run around on your wife, and you're expecting him to buy you liquor. I mean, geez, how much are you trying to squeeze out of poor CC Baxter?
A lot. I
A
mean,
lot.
You can see, like, I thought it was very interesting as you're kind of, like, first learning how this is all working, like, the depths of the scheduling that he has to go through to get
Yep.
these guys to make it work, which is shocking because I thought in the 60s everything was so great and everybody was so nice and perfect. I didn't know this kind of stuff happened back then. Of course it did, you know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you know, so I love how the movie kind of introduces it because it starts off like it's very playful. Like
Mhm.
nobody's getting hurt. There's some comedy around this.
Sure.
But that's not really what the movie's going to do the whole time.
Definitely not. You know, I agree with you about opening and kind of just how it kind of gets itself going. I really appreciate Cece's opening monologue.
Yeah.
I think the analytical feel of it, I think, fits
Oh,
his
yeah.
character so well. I mean, one, he works in insurance, and two, it's just kind of the kind of type of guy he is.
Just a
And
normal,
just kinda-
boring guy.
Right, and it kind of fits into that world that he lives in. And he like talks like, I got a really nice apartment. Problem is, I can't always get in when I want to.
Right.
You know, and like so, just it's like a perfect setup for his predicament.
Yeah. It was interesting, you know, based on what we had said in the before. I thought this predicament he gets into was what, like, he was going to work himself into it throughout the movie,
Mhm.
but instead that's the starting point. And I really
Right.
find it as it's a very interesting, very unique, like, starting point for a movie. So because of that, I feel like you're almost hooked right away into his, like, troubles, I guess.
No, absolutely.
Predicament.
I think you feel for him right away, and you do feel for him, and you also, I think it's fair to say you can also be a little angry with him at the same time.
Sure.
Because you're like, man, why are you letting these guys just
Walk
run
all
on,
over
like
you.
run roughshod on you like
Yeah.
this? But so you kind of have a wide
Well-
range of emotions, but I do think you connect with him no matter what.
Yeah.
Because you understand his goal. Because you understand that he's trying to make it. He's trying to make it in the world, in the corporate world, and this is how he feels like these guys are
Yeah.
dangling the fish in front of him that, you know, he can get this big promotion.
Well, yeah, and so actually, like, for me at first, I wasn't sure if he was, like, being this thing. So he was getting paid per, like, setup.
Right.
And then you kind of learn that, oh, wait, he's doing this off, like, he's essentially being a nice guy, you know,
Mhm.
air quotes, and
Yep.
they're promising him some back end favors at
Right.
work.
Some
Now,
payola.
I think that recontextualizes them, like, taking advantage of, like, staying there too long.
Mhm.
And, I mean, essentially losing his keys sometimes.
Making
Like,
him pay for the liquor and stuff and not
Yeah.
paying him back.
yeah, I think that recontextualizes it a lot as a viewer, and then you're like completely sympathetic, like, oh, this is just a guy who's getting taken advantage of. He's being used.
Yeah.
I doubt they'll ever really even help him get his promotion. You know, those are initial thoughts. So yeah, you're totally on his side from the jump because of that.
Absolutely. And they're so brazen about it. You know,
Right.
I mean, like I said, whether it's the liquor stuff from the earlier scene, or when Dobich like calls him in the middle of the night.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, I've got, you know, she looks just like Marilyn Monroe. Come
I
on.
just took a sleeping pill.
Right. Like, I mean, obviously he's like, how can I, and then like, he was like, how can I be efficient in the office if I don't get a good night's sleep? And it's like, well, they don't care about that.
Right.
Like, that's the whole thing. And it's just, you know, it is interesting to me. And you know, obviously you kind of see this behavior in shows like Mad Men and things like that about like how the 50s and the 60s were
Right,
as far
yeah,
as
yeah.
like this type of behavior. But you know, I'm sure there are degrees of it that still exist now in different
sure.
forms.
Yeah, it's easier now.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, but you do kind of. I find it interesting because you do eventually see, like, his plan. Baxter's plan. It essentially does kind of work, and in a way, because those guys actually do. Even though they've been doing this for a year, they've probably been dangling this, like, we're going to give you a promotion soon, or, like, we're going to do our best to recommend you for a promotion soon. They've probably been dangling that for a good year, and, like, at this point, when we kick in with the movie is when they actually, like, do it.
Well, I think part of it too. That's when it's actually when Sheldrake gets involved that like the promotion kind of
Well,
like.
doesn't he get involved because like they all three he got all their recommendation. He knows.
Well, he found
Okay.
out about the key.
Yeah. Well, because he tells the story about how like last time I got this many recommendations from one person, it was
Oh,
because
right.
so that
Sure,
made me
right,
think
and that's
like
fair. But I
yeah.
think it's the key. Like
Yeah.
that was why he did it. To be fair, I don't think those recommendations meant a hill of beans. I
Yeah.
think Sheldrake like, well, I want the key, so I actually have the power to do this, so I'm going to get the key and
Sure.
I'm going to give you the job. So I mean that's fair. You can say they did write the recommendation, so sure they get a modicum of credit.
Yeah,
for
I guess
that.
I'm not sure of the timeline of like
Right.
recommendations before key
Sure.
before or whatever.
But
yeah.
but it's never enough. And that's
Exactly.
kind of what it
Isn't
boils
that
down to. So
yeah?
it's like
Isn't that so much about what this movie's saying?
right. The whole idea of like the people who take and the people who get took, and like there's constant CC Baxter is constantly getting took through this movie. Even I think the job itself is a form of being taken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's so clever when movies can just put a line like that out there that's playful, and like the guy who's saying it doesn't know. He knows it's about him, but like he doesn't almost know that it's about him in a way. You know what I mean? And that's what this whole movie's about. It's about takers and tookers. People who are being took.
Takers and tookers.
And and you know what? That's true to this. Like as we said, to this very day, that stuff is true. There's people who are going to take from you. People are going to let people take them. Like the good guy finishes last. Thing is kind of the thing that kept popping in my brain. Nice guys finish last.
Yeah.
That old chestnut kept popping in my brain as you watch this and you see like Baxter just go through this this plight.
Yeah. Well, and but even beyond just, I think he also realizes it to a certain degree that besides just the fact that this is a opportunity for a promotion, I do think he worries about his job a little bit too. Because there's even a line in that when Dobish brings the Marilyn Monroe lookalike in the night, he's like, "Oh, what about your mother?" She's like, "What about your mother?" And he's like, "Don't worry about the old bird. One squawk from her, and she's out of a job." Mm-hmm. So, right. I think at that point, and obviously CC hears that, and so he knows, I think to a certain degree that it's kind of he's trapped.
Yeah.
In a way,
you know
what I mean? Even if he didn't want the promotion, he's still trapped.
Yeah.
Because
he has to play ball.
Right. He basically has to play ball.
Yeah. Once Jeff, Sheldrake, his boss, puts the offer out there, like, give me the key. Like he's at that point, he's trapped. The boss is like, either if you don't play ball, then I've kind of revealed to you that I cheat on my wife,
right?
And I'm not going to have some stranger know that about me, so I'm going to fire you, or you're going to play ball. Like as soon as he learns that information, he has no response to say but yes.
Yeah.
And he's slow to do it because he's like, it's the furthest thing from his mind is he's not like pimping out his apartment. Like that's not the impression I was under. Like, and he kind of explains. He just kind of this one thing rolled into another, and he doesn't say he's trapped, but it's like he knows he is. He can't stop because the people who he's servicing are higher ranked in the building, like higher
superiors.
Yeah, they're superiors at work, so he has to do what they say.
Yeah.
And though even though he'll push back a little bit, in the back of his mind, and I think as our mind as the audience members watch this, we know there's only so much he can push back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another element of CC Baxter that's kind of interesting throughout the whole movie really is he has this tendency to try to perhaps be somebody that he's not. He's always like trying to be somebody that he's not, and I think it sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's situational, but it just keeps cropping up. So I think about like when he takes the blame for things. So obviously with the Kubelik stuff, like when she finally when the suicide attempt happens and all of that, and like he takes that on. So like yes, he's doing it to keep Sheldrake's name out of it,
sure.
But it is also kind of like him playing this role. This of the Lothario, and the same because the doctor and the neighbor, they all think that he's some kind of a Lothario, and he's got women in and out, and you got to donate your body to science, and all of this, and it's like he's constantly being portrayed or playing somebody that he's not.
Right.
And I think that's such an interesting element to the idea of somebody that's being took. It's like they're being tricked into thinking that they need to be this person.
Right. They have to cover up for everybody.
Right.
They,
Well, and not even just that, but like it's almost like seen as a sign of power. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like he's playing the powerful, even though he's not.
Yeah, like he's
right.
Yeah, like he's covering for them. He allows this to happen in his apartment. He's in control.
Right.
And that's like some of the biggest thing, people say all the time, control is an illusion, and sometimes when you think you're in control of the situation, you're really lying to yourself because the situation's uncontrollable.
Right.
You're just trying to find a way to make it feel to yourself like you are in control, and so
Yeah.
that definitely can be something that a characteristic I can see coming from Baxter for sure.
Yeah.
I did like the way how the neighbor, like getting the neighbor's viewpoint of Baxter's lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
is an interesting take. Like, this plot point of this apartment being used by his coworkers to, for affairs. Essentially, it's interesting to kind of see it from Baxter's point of view in and of itself.
Yeah.
But then seeing it from the neighbors I thought was an interesting way just to kind of
Yeah.
recontextualize it.
Well, absolutely. And again, it's this idea of people portraying him as something that he's not, and perhaps something he thinks that he in his mind he would want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, or should be. And I think that's also kind of part of it as well. Is it's like this, I want to strive to be this, but he really he needs to strive to be CC Baxter.
Yeah.
And I think that and the nice guy.
Right.
And so I think that that's kind of ultimately the journey through this movie, what he is kind of learning as well. Besides just the take and took situation.
Yeah. Because I think one interesting scene with Baxter, and I don't want to. The movie's it's straightforward, but it's kind of complicated in how the information is revealed very brilliantly.
Brilliantly.
So I kind of want to skip to the part where he has learned that Fran, who we're going to talk about a good bit in a second, but who Fran is having an affair, I guess, with Sheldrake, his boss.
Yeah.
And when he's at the bar, kind of just absolutely just getting plastered in depression and gets hit on by this other woman there. I think, first of all, it's so funny how she's shooting the straws at him and he is just absolutely clueless that she is doing this. He's just he is gone mentally.
Yeah.
But I do think it's funny though, when she makes her advances on him, that he does kind of turn into everything that he doesn't like about these other people.
Right.
He just reverts to this persona that he's going to pretend to be. He can bring a girl back to his apartment, and it can be this kind of, even though he's not really with somebody, he kind of mentally is with Fran.
Right.
And so he's going to have an affair with her here at his apartment on his terms.
Right.
But it's really just it's not him at all.
No, completely. Exactly. It's exactly what I'm saying. And I think it's a great scene to talk about because you're right. He almost kind of physically turns into them.
Yeah,
when he walks in, he's got the jacket, right? And the way he talks when he gets into the apartment is you are with a known sex pot.
Yeah,
he
knows that that's all a joke, a cover story.
Exactly. So I think 100% it is completely a part of that. But you mentioned Fran Kubelik,
yes,
and
please.
so let's shift gears because I mean she is, as I said in the before section, Shirley MacLaine is so damn magnetic in this movie.
Yeah. In
so many ways, in so many scenes, and I can't even begin to talk about how great she is.
Yeah, I've never seen her this young. I'll have to admit, I've not ever seen her this young. So this was a treat.
Yeah, this was an early movie for her.
Oh, I'd imagine so, but definitely was a treat to see her. I'm used to thinking of her as grumpy, the grumpy old woman. Yeah. So in terms of endearment too,
Oh,
but
sure.
so seeing her in this character who's very magnetic and chipper and quick-witted, or at least that's the persona she's putting out there, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But it was joy to see her play this character.
Yeah, her opening scene in the elevator is just so good.
Yeah.
And obviously just the idea of an elevator operator is such a foreign thing in the modern world.
What is the salary for that?
Right. It's so interesting. But the way that they set up so much in that. They set up Cece's feelings for her, their chemistry, which is immediately off the charts.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they're like a two-man comedy act.
Right. The way that the executives hit on her, grabs her butt, and and then she does the whole one of these days I'm gonna close these doors
to the moon,
and then it's great. It's such a great scene, and it's such an interesting journey just from there to the scene where the reveal of her relationship with Sheldrake.
Yeah. In
the restaurant.
Kind of I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, kind of to your point, this movie never wastes a second in a scene.
No.
There's so much little work done in every scene.
Yeah.
That I'll kind of maybe highlight some of those as we kind of come upon them. But like you said, like in that scene alone, when we first meet Fran, you get her backstory just from what the executives say about her, that nobody can crack that nut, like she won't go out with anybody.
Right.
You see the chemistry between the two, you see her personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's so much accomplished in every scene
Yeah.
of this movie, and
And
makes
it's a
every
real-
scene like so engaging.
Yeah, and it's such a roller coaster
Yeah.
with her in Baxter, because it's he thinks he's getting somewhere. Like he get
Yeah.
he's doing what I was all supposed to do. He decides like, oh, he's gonna he's in with Sheldrake, or he ends up being in with Sheldrake because they have the whole key thing, and then like the Music Man tickets.
Right.
So it's like in that situation,
She's gonna go to see the Music Man with him.
Well, right. So it's like he thinks he's getting ready to like, this is huge, because he's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, in his mind he's getting screwed over because he's realizing, okay, Sheldrake's now going to take advantage of me like everybody else, another person. But but he's got these tickets, and then he's able to convince Fran to go with him to the show. But then you find out that Fran is actually with Sheldrake, and why he's not actually going to the Music Man.
Right.
And that scene in the restaurant, it's so great because so from where she starts on that elevator scene,
So independent, so
right,
strong.
exactly.
She's got everybody at her whim.
Right. The confluent events, the roller coaster to that scene is such an intense gut punch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's they play, like you said, they play her as such a strong, forceful character, and to kind of have the reveal of such weakness for Sheldrake,
Yeah.
kind of knocking her down.
Yeah.
It like in one instance you could almost see that it might make her unlikable, but I think it makes you root for her more in some regards.
Sure. Yeah. No, you're obviously you're right. You love this movie. You've seen it way more times than me, but that's how I felt. Like I said, you start off and say like, oh, this is especially since I know Shirley MacLaine, that's the older actress. She's so strong. Like she doesn't take guff from anybody,
Mhm.
and that's you kind of get those vibes from Fran in that first scene.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you see that she is the person that Sheldrake is taking advantage of,
Right.
then you're like, oh no. It's
Yeah.
just like that. You're like, no, not you, Fran. And it's it's part of it because you're like, no, now I know like this thing with you and Baxter just got so much more complicated. You're not going to go see the Music Man, but it's also just like, oh no, you're putting yourself in this position. You're not that. You're at his whim. People aren't at yours, and
Right.
it's not that you're on a that you're like it's not that you just
Independent enough to give
Yeah.
into the whims of the men. Yeah.
right. But it's that you're just keeping yourself unavailable for him on his
Right.
calendar, on his schedule.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. You see all this weakness, but it immediately something like, we can get out of this. Me and you, Fran. Like I'm going to watch you through this journey. You can get yourself out of this, and that's
Yeah.
the ride you're on with her from that point on.
Yeah, and they're both trapped. I mean, Baxter's trapped in
That's-
his situation, and she is trapped in her situation.
Talk about it being used. She's being took, right?
Yeah. I mean, that scene in the restaurant, it's so good when she says, like, for a while there, you try kidding yourself you're going with an unmarried man. Then one day he keeps looking at his watch and asks if there's any lipstick showing, then rushes to catch the 7:14 to White Plains. So you fix yourself a cup of instant coffee and you sit there by yourself and think it all begins to look so ugly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the despair in that scene
Right.
is just, and she wears it on her face so well. You feel every ounce of it.
You always do. And so it's like she's like this perfect contrast to Baxter, because like we just explained, like he's being took, but he finds the way to frame it where he's in control.
Yeah.
Where she knows she's not. She
Right.
knows she knows she's being took,
Right.
but she knows she is trapped because she feels love for him, and she doesn't know how to stop that feeling. So she like embraces being trapped, and like she has no way out. Where Baxter kind of tries to kind of feel like he's in charge, and he can stop it whenever he wants. So
Mhm.
I love the differences between. They're both in the same spot. They're both
Yeah.
being used, but
Right.
they do not look at it the same way at all.
And they both have things being dangled in front of them. For
Sure.
her, it's for Baxter, it was the promotion. For her, it's divorce.
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm going to get a divorce. I just
Right.
can't do it yet, or
It's not the right
blah, blah, blah.
time.
Right, exactly. And I think that obviously it kind of goes back to maybe not less so with the divorce, obviously, but just there's still that kind of power dynamic, whether you want to call it a class dynamic or whatever. And there's still a power dynamic
Yeah.
there, and it's very effective the way that they use it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. They're promising you a better life, right?
Right.
That better
Right.
life is just
Right.
it's just like 2 days away from now, 3 days away from now.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be better, but it's always 2 or 3 days away.
Right. But you mentioned the mirror. They do a great job of setting up, which is it's such a simple device. It's such an effective visual tool to use in the movie, and the way that they establish it is great. So like when Baxter finds it, so he has no idea what he's found. He has no idea who it belongs to. You do at
Right.
that point, but he doesn't.
'Cause
So
we
it's a great
know that- we
audience
know
reveal
who-
in that.
yeah.
Right. You haven't.
We didn't see her lose it, but we
No.
know she's been in the apartment.
Right. Exactly.
And this is kind of what I was saying earlier, not to cut you off, I apologize, but like this is where the movie had set up that he always finds stuff left behind in his apartment. Like they
Right.
did that in other scenes.
Yeah.
And I just think those small touches just kind of go such a long way in movies like this.
Yeah.
Just makes the screenplay feel so tight.
Right.
But yeah, so when we get the mirror.
Yeah, and there's a couple of great setups in this scene. So there's the mirror, and then there's also this line that comes back around, and it's such kind of talking about what we were mentioning earlier about C.C. Baxter trying to be somebody that he's not. Sheldrake says, you see a girl a couple times a week just for laughs, and right away they think you're going to divorce your wife. Now I ask, is that fair? And then
Right.
he responds, no, sir, it's really unfair. Especially to your wife,
Yeah.
which is just such a great line
It goes
because
right
it's
over
like
Jeff's head.
right
You're basically
over his
calling him
head.
a sleazebag.
Right, but it's so good, and there's so many great lines in this movie, and that is obviously one of them.
But I love in that scene how like we now know that even though Baxter has no information on Fran, he now knows something that she cannot know. That he knows that Sheldrake is never going to leave his wife. He
Right.
knows that on that comment.
Yep.
He knows that he doesn't know that Fran is the girl that he's referring to
Right.
yet. But we do know as soon as he finds that out, because of course he's going to, like, he's going to have all this information that Fran's just not going to be a part of. So it's just so interesting how they dish out information in this movie.
Yeah.
How sometimes characters have one advantage over the other, or they learn things separately from their counterparts. It's just really well done.
Yeah.
It's really well written.
Well, and it just kind of goes from it's a great roller coaster from scene to scene
Right.
because you kind of you come into a scene high, you go out low,
Yeah.
high, low, whatever,
Vice versa.
or vice versa, and it's so good, and so you cut to the Christmas party, so it's like the mirror scene of the mirror. So
Yeah.
it's when he finds out that the mirror is her. So C.C. Baxter brings Kubelik to his office.
He thinks he's making headway with her
Right,
again.
and he's going to show her the junior model, executive model, the hat. And
It's a good hat. It's
right.
a good hat.
So she pulls out the mirror.
It's just
and,
how he can look at himself.
right, and then you mentioned it earlier. It's like, I like it that way. It makes me look the way I feel. And in that moment, you can see it on
It's
his
my
face.
favorite line of the movie, I think.
Really?
honestly.
It's totally fair. So, and then his face just drops.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, but he holds it in such a way, and then the phone rings, and it's freaking Sheldrake
Right.
confirming his reservation at his apartment, and he
With
knows
Fran,
he's
yes.
going with.
Yeah.
And it's all of these, everybody knows these pieces of information
Yeah.
now, and they piece these things together.
He knows that he's learning stuff about Fran that Fran does not realize is being learned about her in that moment.
Right.
It's so interesting when people interact with that supremacy of knowledge over the other.
Yeah, absolutely. So and Billy Wilder has just such a masterful hand with that kind of thing in this movie. Just the way that he, reveals that information, is able to like I said, kind of roller coaster through a scene, and leave you just like you're feeling really good for Baxter in the beginning, and
Yep.
then just on the floor. It's just so great. But then on top of that, before we even get to that scene, just to
Too much to talk
contextualize her,
about.
right? And contextualize her headspace. She had just talked to Miss Olson,
Oh yes,
the
yes,
assistant.
yes.
So it's like so
And Miss
she's
Olsen
already in a
gave
low
us a lot
spot.
of information there.
Right, and basically spilled all the beans to her that
She's like the fourth or fifth
right.
girl that
she's
Sheldrake
nowhere
has done
near
this
the first,
to.
right? And she's probably not going to be the last.
No.
And so obviously at that point, Fran is questioning her situation, which is probably part of the reason why she's kind of opening herself up to Cece in that moment.
Yeah,
But obviously, because she's just as trapped, she ends up going with Sheldrake to the apartment.
Yeah.
And this is where, obviously there's a lot of meat to the bone before this. There definitely is. But I think, this scene on is really where this movie just,
Yeah.
locks in.
yeah, and it changes a bit.
It does.
It changes a bit
It really
because
does.
she does, as we kind of have said before, she does have this attempted suicide,
Yeah.
essentially. They really are careful, I think, in the movie to not really call it that. I don't know if they ever. They might have
Yeah,
say
she's
it
usually
once, but
taking overdose of sleeping pills
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah,
like purposely
they
took too
never
many
call it
sleeping pills.
suicide or
Yeah.
kill herself.
So, so that they play that kind of tight to the vest and how they want to frame that. But that's essentially what happens. We see her in the bathroom. She essentially was in a party pooper in Jeff's mind. She wasn't being fun
yeah,
because she just learned all this information, and she tells him, well, your secretary just told me that I'm basically the fifth girl you've done this kind of thing to, and I'm over it. And he's able to just be the smooth talker that these guys are when they make up these lies
yeah.
and kind of try to talk her out of it, but it doesn't really hit home this time for her.
Well, especially after that, conversation with Miss Olsen, which kind
Yeah.
of put all this headspace in context, and then I mean, it's such, I think it's funny because I think just on the face this is trashy, but in the context it's even worse. So when they're at the apartment, obviously he's not going to talk about divorce with his wife during the holidays. He's very upfront with her about that, kind of stringing her along.
Another way to buy 2 more weeks.
Right, exactly. And then she gives him the record, and he gives her. Like, I didn't really have any, didn't have time to get you a gift, so here's $100. Go buy yourself something nice. And so obviously it makes her feel a bit cheap because it's like, oh, here's your money, and then she's like, oh, I don't have time. He's like, well, I just thought as long as it was paid for. And he's like, oh, don't be like that, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's the idea. It's so much worse because of the idea that she gave him such a thoughtful gift.
Exactly.
The record of the guy of the bar that they love together, and all he gave her was $100.
Right. Yeah. What do you always say about gifts? It's the thought that counts, and
Right.
that was just such a clear example that he put no thought into her
Right.
gift.
And I think it was like for her, it was kind of besides just the I'm not leaving my, I'm not talking about it right now. It won't always be this way. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It was he doesn't really care.
Right.
And I think that gift really set that in.
Yeah. To me, it was kind of like when you say like it won't always be this way. It used to be like, okay, it'll be better.
Right.
It'll be like we'll be together. But now it's like it won't always be this way. Yeah, because you'll just dump me and go on to somebody else. So it'll actually be worse. So what am I doing here? But yeah, then she takes too many of the sleeping pills, and this is when Baxter. I think we've kind of perfectly lined up linearly where we left off with Baxter.
Oh right.
But he brings back Mrs. McDougal.
Yeah.
And kind of finds Fran in the room.
Yeah. And that's when he realizes, oh crap, this is bad.
He sobers up quick.
Sobers up real quick, and you can tell, like, when he finds her, he's very mad at her. He's like, yeah, I liked you. I used to like you a lot. And like when he realizes that she's really hurt, again, this kind of idea of like pretending to be somebody that he's not.
Right.
He's not this angry guy. He's like, oh man, like there's this.
Yeah.
I gotta save her. And then like so he goes and gets the doctor and all of that, kicks out Mrs. McDougal, and you kind of have
that waking her from
Yeah.
her deep sleep scene is pretty crazy.
Right. I mean, they are just slapping the hell out of her. Or at least they got some really good Foley sounds on there. Just pop, pop. You're like, oh, God.
Shoving hot coffee down
right?
her
Like,
throat.
oh, God. Yeah, that was, and then marching her back and forth and back and forth.
It was a long scene.
It really was. And I think the doctor is kind of an unsung hero in this movie.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not going to say that he's not in it a lot because he is in it a decent amount.
Yeah.
But it's just Dr. Dreyfus. Yeah, Dr. Dreyfus. Like the I don't want to say levity because that's not even it because it's not levity.
Not in that scene.
No, definitely not in that scene. But but just I guess the counterbalance maybe or whatever, or like the reality he brings to the scene is just so good because obviously he sees Baxter as we said earlier, like the playboy, constantly, and then he kind of, since Baxter is playing into this, making himself out to be so horrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
just taking the blame.
Right. He's and almost like making it worse. You know what I mean?
It's making the doctor's perception of him worse.
Right.
For sure.
But even the situation, you know what I mean? Where it's like, he brings, obviously he brought home Miss McDougal. You know what I mean? Like, so in that line about, oh, you went out and got yourself another girl. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing, like it makes Baxter seem so much worse than what he really is, all in the name of trying to keep Sheldrake safe.
Keep his boss
Yeah.
out of trouble. Keep my boss liking me. Yeah, like I said, I don't care. I would rather have 10 people hate me than have my boss upset with me, which is just like such just like unconnected thought process to reality. But you totally buy and get what the position he's in, though.
Yeah.
You know, again, when people have power over us, like our bosses, you know, you act different at work. You do things to make sure that they like you. Like you can't afford to lose your job and not be able to pay the bills, and just see that trapped.
Right.
You know, a little bit of touch on class and a little bit there, but
Yeah.
how you know that the powerful people can trap you, like we've said multiple times. But and you're willing to just let that trap sink its teeth into you more and more, like you're saying. Like he's okay if his neighbors think he's a scumbag, essentially.
Right.
He knows it's not true, so it is what it is. It's like, well, no, man. Like,
Yeah. You're letting them walk all over you.
Yeah.
And and it kind of continues on with the wife, who's more forceful against Baxter than his husband, than her husband. But that goes back to what I had talked about earlier about the line that Sheldrake uses in the office that Cece uses on her, which is, you see a girl a couple times a week just for laughs, and right away you think you're gonna, or whatever, you're gonna get serious, or talk about marriage or whatever. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about Baxter pretending to be somebody that he's not.
He's usually
he just
using
keeps
their
coming
words.
back to that. He's using the words that other people are saying, like all these guys are saying, and it's like he's thinking he has to be these guys, and this is how you become successful.
Yeah.
And it's just it's just digging the hole.
Yeah, and it's interesting too how that frames Fran in this instant, because like the Dreyfuses, I guess her name's Dreyfus too. The Dreyfuses are like, he drove you to this. You know what I mean? Like he drove you to this because he's such a horrible person. He uses women left and right. Like it's not your fault that you feel this way. This kind of thing. And it's not their sentiment isn't untrue. They're just talking about the wrong guy, which is so interesting. And and I think Fran kind of knows that. You know what I mean? She knows that it's not Baxter's fault.
Right.
She did this, but she doesn't like really clarify. And I'm not even sure if she's really sure that they're talking about Baxter, like how much they know or don't. So it's like I said, it's how the movie uses like information is really like, it's brilliant. Like, I think you know this about me, but you only know this, or I thought you knew this, but you didn't. That's it's always you've got to always kind of keep track of who knows what.
Yeah, no, I can completely agree. I think then it gets so much worse when Baxter has to call Sheldrake on Christmas.
Jeez.
And you'll have to handle the situation yourself, Baxter. I mean, it's just.
This was a girl you loved.
Right, yeah, and it's just it's funny because at this point you know he's never gonna leave.
And Fran knows she just can't do anything about it.
Right, and that's true. And
She's trapped.
He keeps proving it, and just keeps being such the asshole.
Yeah,
and you hate him more and more.
And this is the time though. I think these scenes when Baxter is helping Fran really like recover is when I think get that first real glimpse of what real Baxter is like. And he's a nurturer, and he's going to do whatever he can to take care of her and make her feel comfortable.
Right.
And like, this is the real him. This isn't him pretending to be anybody else at this moment.
Play cards. The card game.
Just lift your spirits up. You know what I mean? Doing things to make sure in case you wanted to commit another suicide attempt, we're not going to happen. But he thinks of the little things. He notices the little things. He's just... This, like I said, he's a good guy, and this is where we get to really see that.
Yeah.
And then, which then makes it painful when, like, Fran sometimes, like, just give him the ultimate friend zone line.
Oh, my God. Why do people... Yep. Or why can't I fall in love with a nice guy like you?
Oy.
Oh, God. I hate it every time. And you see it on his face. It is, like, the worst thing. And, this whole part of the movie kind of feels like that in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Where you keep seeing her still so hung up on Sheldrake, and her perfect guy is literally right there, and you're like, come on, man.
Yeah, the guy who's going to just dawdle on you hand and foot. He's right there. He's doing it.
Dagger
You guys
to
have
the
chemistry.
heart.
Yeah.
But it's funny, because even this, by this point, for the other schmucks, the other executives, they still don't give up. Kirkby shows up just out of the blue, or
No, I think
like
he
he
did
said
have
he have an appointment. I guess
they mentioned it way earlier, but it's like it was 25 minutes ago. You forgot about it, which is with a point, because just like Baxter did too.
Right.
And he shows up, but then you can see Baxter put his foot down.
Right, and it's like, but you hit the jackpot. Kubelik wise.
Yeah.
And because again, like that to them, that is the jackpot,
Right,
and
that
none
was-
of them know about Sheldrake's
Right.
relationship with her.
Yeah.
So, but it also establishes that they know where she is. So when Carl Matushka comes looking for her
Her
at the office, her
brother-in-law.
brother-in-law, they know how to roll on Buddy Boy, which again, that's what you just these guys, they just keep taking, they just
Yep.
take and take, and
They're-
there's
yeah.
never enough.
The guy won't let me use his apartment to have an affair anymore. I'm going to get even with him. Like,
Right?
what?
Yeah, I mean,
Makes
it's
no
absolutely
sense.
ridiculous. I mean, all three of those guys should go in on an apartment together,
They would, yeah.
and then they can do a rotor.
Well, you know how that goes. If they can take advantage of somebody, they'd much rather do that.
No, 100%. I think there's a lot to be said about that.
And so we get this point where Baxter's just being so good to Fran,
Mhm.
and then the brother-in-law is going to come, and they're getting ready to have this great spaghetti dinner that he made with a tennis racket, and it's like they're going to have this nice romantic moment. This is where he's going to win her over a little
Yeah.
bit. You've seen this in movies. It's going to be like Lady and the Tramp. They're going to kiss on eating spaghetti. No, her brother-in-law barges through,
Right?
sees Baxter in this light that is just not him,
Right.
and ruins everything.
Yeah. Well, and it's such, again, a comedy of errors because, you got him coming in and the doctor comes in, how's the patient, all of these like confluence of events. And then it all ends up when Baxter once again, like claiming, oh, she took the pills because of me, and just, gets cold cocked. And I mean, Fran calls him a fool, and it's true. You fool, you damn fool. And
that comes my second favorite line in the movie.
Don't bother, Doc. It doesn't hurt a bit.
Yeah, you see him, they're just knocked out on the floor, just smiling.
Yep.
Yeah, he's like, "Don't worry, Doc. It doesn't hurt a bit," because he just knows he got kissed on the forehead from Fran.
Yeah.
So. Great scene.
Yeah.
Jack Lemmon just looks perfect, and that like joyously, but still like heavily concussed, but very happy about it.
Yeah.
It's great.
This is I love this next kind of set of scenes because I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the roller coaster. So like Baxter comes into work and he is ready to like tell Sheldrake like, I'm going to take Miss Kubelik off your hands, all this. He's got it all ready to go. And then as soon as he gets in, Sheldrake hits him with that, like the same dialogue. You don't have to worry about her anymore. I'm going to take her off your hands. Wait, what?
Yeah. That was beautifully written.
Right.
Turn of events there.
Absolutely. And it just goes to show how horrible Sheldrake is,
Right.
because so the only reason that any of this is happening is because he fires Miss Olsen
Right.
for blabbing. And then she, like, again, why
Yes.
would you fire the lady who knows where the skeletons are buried? And then she goes to his wife and gets him, kicked out. And then there's going to be the divorce and all that. So it's almost like it forced him to do it, but he was never going to do it anyway.
No,
You know what
he
I mean?
never would have.
Right. And this is
Right.
not like, oh, it's just going to force him because this is what he really wanted. It's like, no, it's not that what he really wanted, but it's just like, well, this is fine anyway. I can handle
He
this.
has a backup plan, but
Right.
he's able to frame it, and this is what kind of he holds this information over Baxter and Fran. Hey, I did this. I told you I was going to do it, and I did
Right.
it. Like he initiated this. When we it's that beautiful use of information. Now we know the audience, as an audience member, what characters in the movie don't, or Fran doesn't at least.
Yeah.
Is that no? This was he's getting divorced because of the wife's decisions.
Right.
He didn't grow up. He didn't confess his love for Fran. He feels
No.
about her the same.
Yeah.
And we quickly learn he's still going to cheat on her. He says like, "I'm going to enjoy being a bachelor. I can
Right.
tell you that much." And so
Right.
we know that he's not changing ways. He's not going to settle down with Fran now. He's just going to keep using her.
Yeah.
Keep taking.
Yeah. And it's such a great scene with Fran and Baxter in the lobby. It kind of like it, where they're both in this place where they supposedly have what they want.
Right.
She has Sheldrake, he has the
They're
promotion,
both happy.
and they're both
No.
supposedly supposed to be happy, and you can just tell that they aren't.
Right.
And it's such a great thing where it's like, oh, you walk me to the subway or this, then he's like, no, and I've got I had a heavy date, and then
See that girl waiting in
Yeah.
the little convenience
right,
store.
and then when Kubelik leaves and he walks over, he just walks by. The other
Great
guy comes out
Great
and
shot.
right,
Yeah.
escorts the lady
Yeah.
away. He has no date.
No.
All he cares about is Kubelik, but he still can't do it. Like,
Yeah,
he
he
can't stand up for himself yet.
But he eventually does.
He does.
When Jeff calls him into the office and says, "I don't want to keep sharing the key with you anymore, right? Just give me Or
Well, no, it's he's staying at the men's club or whatever, and it's Stag, so he needs a place to take Kubelik.
Oh, yeah.
Like
One more
they're
time,
they're
yeah.
not seeing each other per
on
se,
New Year's, yeah.
right? But he convinced her to see him, and now he needs the key,
Right.
and this is where Baxter finally says no key,
No key.
no key, and you're not bringing anybody to my apartment. Especially not Miss Kubelik.
Right.
Like it was just, I mean, it's so good.
So
like,
direct.
Like Baxter finally gets it.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, like I'm gonna stand up for myself. And even if it's like in that moment, and I think this is actually what's kind of the best part of it, is that in that moment he's not even necessarily doing it for Fran.
No.
He's doing it for himself. And
Right.
I think that's such an important distinction at this point because it's not like he's doing a change for her.
Yeah.
He's doing it for him. He still gets her in the end, which is great, but that's not why he had this
Right.
moment.
No.
And I think that's it makes it
It's
all the
his
more
arc,
powerful.
yeah.
Right, it's his arc. It's not necessarily their arc together.
Yeah, and it is beautiful because as Sheldrake pushes back and he gets the key.
Right.
Baxter hands him a key.
Right.
And then he walks out of the office all pissy, which he should be.
Yeah.
But then Sheldrake comes in after him like, hey, you gave me the wrong key. You gave me your work key, the bathroom key.
Right.
And he's like, yeah.
Because he quits.
He quit.
He quit.
He gives a great line there. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I'm all washed up.
I'm
Like,
all washed
I
up.
don't need it anymore.
The men's
'cause I'm
washroom
all-
key. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I don't need it anymore because I'm all washed up.
Yeah, great pun there.
Yeah. Your Piola won't work anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great line. And he's done. And he's fine. And that's fine. He's like, I'm done being the took.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what's interesting, like we said, he always pretended he was a taker too. He saw these promotions as what he got. He got out of this what he always wanted to.
Mhm.
But I don't think he ever learned that he might have been moving up the ladder, but he was just only to become more trapped,
Yeah.
not to actually reward him for
Absolutely.
good service.
I completely agree. And that's why I keep saying about like the took element
Yeah.
of it. I think the job was part of it.
Yeah, it was.
I mean,
the promotion wasn't what he wanted. It was actually makes it worse.
Right. Absolutely.
More
And
to lose.
Right, and more deeply ingrains him to them, and I think that's
Yeah,
really kind
right.
of getting once you put yourself in a situation like that, they keep taking, just like
Yeah.
Fran says,
Yeah.
and the job was part of that. It wasn't, yeah, he thinks like, oh, I'm getting what I want, but it's never going to end. It's like being blackmailed.
So yeah, it is. It is. And then we get the scene, as we kind of just near the final scenes of this movie, where Sheldrake is with
So
Fran at New Year's,
So good.
and Fran's not in a great mood. You know?
Yeah.
She's kind of learned. Things didn't really change after their.
No.
They're still going to an apartment. Supposedly.
Or they're going to Atlantic City. He's renting a car, so they're
Right.
going to Atlantic City.
But I mean, up to that point, he probably, he
Oh,
was still
right.
probably
Oh, I
taking
see
her
what you mean.
places.
Right.
They weren't settling down by any stretch. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
He had to, make this Atlantic City plan because he couldn't, get
Right.
Baxter's key. And then I just love how they stumble upon the story, of Sheldrake telling Fran the story of how Baxter quit.
Yeah.
And then I just think it's the greatest shot of the movie and maybe the best smile I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah.
Where Shirley MacLaine, Fran here, just like when she hears the story that Baxter quit, he finally stood up for himself. He's tired of being the took, essentially.
Yeah.
She realizes all of that, and she also is simultaneously realizing that is the guy I'm supposed to be with, and she just has this radiant smile
Yeah.
that just shows up. It's framed beautifully, shot beautifully, lit beautifully, and it's just so like infectious.
Yeah.
And you just know in that moment exactly what she's thinking.
Yeah, that medium close, she lives in it a couple times in
Yeah.
this movie. That's just, and it's in this restaurant specifically, because again, it was that earlier scene that I mentioned with that diatribe about, tricking yourself with being that you're with an unmarried man and blah.
Right.
And then this one as well, where it just, it does. It frames her so beautifully, and she uses every inch of the frame. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's
Right,
it's like she
right.
radiates,
Yes.
even though she's only a person. But you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it just
Oh,
it
it
fills the
definitely,
frame.
yeah, the lighting helps with that. It
Yeah.
definitely makes you feel that way.
Absolutely. But I also love the part of that where this kind of going back earlier to a callback is I'd spell it out for you, only I can't spell.
Right.
And talk because they had the conversation
Why she's
about
not a secretary.
why she's not a secretary, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many great callbacks
Yep.
in this movie, like so many.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was, alluding to earlier. Is like every scene is like accomplishes multiple goals. And of course, that's what they say about good writing in any movies. Never have a scene just do one thing. Have it do two things. This movie has every scene's doing 3 or 4 things.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just they get the most out of their real estate, which is why you're so engaged in watching every scene.
Yeah.
And there's one more callback.
Right.
When Fran she's running down the street. We hit midnight. It's New Year. I don't know if it turned to 1960 or if it turned to 1961.
Right.
But she's gone. Sheldrake turns around. She can't find her. Good. I want him to be alone. Right. Screw him. She runs down the street and she is going straight to Baxter's apartment. But as she goes up the stairs, we hear a loud bang, which is a callback.
Right. Because he accidentally shot himself in the leg. Because he attempted to kill himself at one point. Yeah. Shot himself in the leg, which was a funny story. On accident. So she automatically says, "Oh no, I just heard a gunshot." She runs, bangs on the door or whatever, and he opens it up, and it was a champagne bottle pop. Right. Yeah. And she just kind of walks in and like notices that he's like moving, which is kind of getting rid of the albatross of the apartment. Which makes sense. Yeah. And where are you going to go? Oh, another job, another neighborhood. I don't know. I'm on my own. Oh, so am I.
Yeah, little reveal of information.
Yeah, and he's like, oh. And then, like, she walks over, like, where are the cards? We need to finish that game. Like, where are the cards? In there. And, like, she goes, gets the cards, and they sit down. And, like, the way he looks at her this whole time, like, it's like he cannot take his eyes off of her. Like, you can feel the joy radiating off of him, and he just can't contain it. So, to the point where he's just like, I love you. Yeah. Like, I adore you.
Right.
And then maybe one of the greatest lines ever to end a movie, shut up and deal. Like, it's so good.
Yep.
Like, it's so good. And you might think, like, that's not great because, like, well, she didn't say I love you back. Yes, she did.
Right.
Yes, she did. Because she just said that they are going to sit there and play this game forever.
Yeah.
Like, that's what that means. Like, she's not good at it, but she doesn't care. She's going to sit there and she's going to play this game with C.C. Baxter forever. I mean, God, it's such a banger of a closing line.
Yes, it is. And then they have that great, they exchange those looks and you hear the card shuffle. And it's a great way to end a movie. It's just, like I said, the movie is it's well written, well acted. I'm totally ruining how we usually try to end these episodes.
Well, so we usually have a question.
Yeah.
We didn't have one for this. So I'm going to pose one right here at the end. Is this the most perfectly written movie ever?
From recency bias says yes. I mean, it is very tight and it's complicated in like, it's not the most complicated thing in the world. Like, you're not, solving a math equation here, but like how they use reveal of information and like just you as an audience member being able to easily track what Baxter knows at all times versus what Fran knows at all times versus just what we know only as audience members. It's not hard, so it's not complicated in that way, but like there is a lot going on, but it's always easy to follow. Where every character's at the whole time. It is perfectly written in that way. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it is crackerjack from beginning to end. Like you said, not a wasted moment. They, like, whether it's the callbacks or just the the way that even just the lines themselves, the way that they're perfect. They enter a scene like the roller coaster. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Is the roller coaster where you start low, go high, or vice versa. It's just they're able to get you in and out of scenes in such a way that you are hooked every second of this movie.
And it's an interesting plot point. Like you have these two characters who are just absolutely being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And they need each other to kind of, or at least the exposure to each other to like realize how badly they're being taken advantage of, dig them, like have the bravery to, or that maybe the parachute of each other in some ways I think for Fran to be able to like to dig themselves out of this hole and kind of just complete those arcs that are just so beautiful that end with them together.
Right, and I think that's a great point. And I think one of the most masterful things about this movie is like a lot of romantic comedy movies. I feel like the arc is about them getting together. I don't feel like that's necessarily what this arc is about.
Right.
Yes, they get together in the end, but they both have a very separate arc
Yeah.
That's what allows that to happen.
Right.
So yes, in the end, that is the byproduct. But like we said earlier with Cece, like he had to stand up for himself to Sheldrake because of everything that had happened before that. Same thing with Fran. She had to get to that point to realize like Sheldrake is just even now that he's free, it's not worth it. Like he is not worth it. And those arcs had to be complete for them to be together. So yes, like I said, that's the byproduct, but it's not the purpose.
Exactly, because they are better people by the end of this movie apart from each other.
Right.
They're just going to be really, they're just
Great.
now because they're better people, they're a great match for each other.
Exactly. And I think that's what sets it apart so much from other romantic comedies.
I agree. That's a great point.
Well, now that I asked my very arbitrary question, we have the big question, a little tongue-in-cheekish. Obviously, I think it's perfect. But the real question is why we're here. So, as you said, I don't even know why I'm going to ask, but I've got to do it because it's what we do here.
Yeah, it is.
It's what we do here. So, Ray, why don't you just tell everybody the obvious?
Yeah.
Did you love The Apartment, and would you recommend it?
Yeah, it was going to be way too hard for me to not like give away my feelings about this movie, and I would have done an injustice this whole time trying to talk about this movie and hide any kind of real my true emotions for it. So I just had to play it honest, and I think I've said many times, brilliant, perfect, great, great. And it's because I've said this movie was really good. I'm mad at myself for taking so long to watch it.
Yeah.
It's it. I don't know. I feel like we've gushed over it so much. I don't know if I have any more adjectives to say, but I loved the plot. I loved how the movie was written and constructed. And rom-coms, like we've kind of said, they aren't always engaging, maybe because of some of the points that we've said before, but this isn't just a rom-com. Like I said, it is a great character piece for two characters that you are on the ride with them, that you are rooting for the whole time. And you're really, kind of this point we keep saying, but you're not even necessarily rooting that they're going to get together. Like, obviously you do want that to happen, but like, you want Fran to just be done with Jeff, like have the strength to leave him, see that you're well enough, like see yourself as Baxter sees you, and get yourself out of this hole. And the same thing for Baxter. Quit letting people walk all over. You're a great person. Don't let people think you're trash, that you're trash and that you're this, as you cover for these bosses of these superiors. So those individual arcs are so engaging on themselves, and then like we said, they become these great people that you now want to see them get together. Yeah. And you get that, right? So like, I love when movies make you feel stuff. I always say that. This movie makes you feel just happy. You're smiling. It's great shot. It's perfectly acted. Shirley MacLaine. I love seeing her as this younger actress. Jack is great. I really don't know if I've seen Jack younger before, but I don't know if I've ever.
You ever seen like Some Like It Hot?
Yeah. Okay, so I've seen him younger before, but this was great. I loved him in this. His energy in this is great too. Yeah. He's just, he does this great job of pretending to be a dirtbag while being a great guy.
Right. Yeah. He just has that face. It's like it's just infectious. He's got to have that infectious smile. Yeah. I mean, even when he was an old man and doing Grumpy Old Men with Walter Matthau, it was great. You know what I mean? Like, I need to rewatch that. I haven't watched that in a hot minute.
Super fun. So.
But yeah.
It's
perfectly casted though, top to bottom.
Absolutely.
Even the side characters, like I mentioned, with like the doctor and stuff like that. I think everybody in this movie is just great.
Yeah, all those jerks are perfectly played.
Right,
jerks. So.
They got the best jerks to play the jerks. And let's be honest, Fred MacMurray as Jeff Sheldrake knocks it out of the
park.
Super unlikable. Super unlikable. It's so funny because like he's also in Double Indemnity, which is another Billy Wilder film, which is great. But he was in My Three Sons. Did you ever watch reruns of
My Three Sons?
Exactly. Did you ever watch
No.
So it's like he had such a varied career, you know what I mean? But he played such a bad guy so well. So it's just the Shaggy Dog.
Okay,
he was in the Shaggy Dog. Such an interesting guy, you know what I mean? But he plays Sheldrake so well. You hate him. There's no way you could like him.
No.
And but he has a presence. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so good. So that is a testament to the great acting prowess of Fred MacMurray.
Oh yeah, gave it to him. This movie was great. Thank you, Rob, for for finally.
Oh.
I'm actually kind of pissed at you that you were going to show me this last
I
year.
know. That's the downside of this, because
Yeah.
I admitted in the first half, or the opening, that I was thinking about showing you this last year but I went the silent partner. But you liked the silent partner.
I did, but that means you could have shown me this in January. This could have gone as a New Year's movie. You didn't have to make me wait 12 more months.
I didn't even think about that, but that's fair.
Well, I think I have my mission accomplished. I got you to love The Apartment, I think, as much as I do.
I think
Maybe
so.
not, maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I'm gonna
'cause I
watch
love
a
it
couple more
lot.
times. Maybe I'll finally I'll catch up with you after a few more viewings.
There you go. But before we go, have you watched anything else that you've liked?
I've watched a couple things. I've been doing some rewatches and stuff, but I have found some time for a couple new things. I watched that show on Netflix, Death by Lightning.
I really want to watch that.
Yeah, it's
I've
interesting.
heard
like,
good stuff.
yeah, for a show about
C-list president.
yeah, I was gonna say maybe even D-list. He was president for like 6 months.
D-list president.
Garfield, so it's
Right.
like, but it's a fun cast. Michael Shannon plays Garfield. Arthur is played by
Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman.
I've heard like that. He's actually the name I hear the most.
He's
about
fun.
this show.
He's
I've
fun.
heard like Nick Offerman is really good in this show.
Yeah, he's fun, and I don't, because these presidents are so they're so obscure or
Yeah.
like easily forgotten. I don't know if that gives you more freedom to kind of like add something to their
Mhm,
personality that
mhm.
maybe wasn't there, but nobody's really going to challenge you because who knows
Sure.
if it's true,
I've
or maybe
heard
it's
the-
true.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've heard the book that it's based on, and I don't know if this is for Chester A. Arthur or Garfield or whatever, but like but it was what I've heard is in relation to Chester A. Arthur, that it's like it is super interesting, like
Yeah.
the book that it's based on.
Yeah.
So I
It's-
think there's probably a bit of accuracy to it. Is
Yeah,
my guess. Is
I
what
mean-
I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the way Garfield becomes president was something that I didn't know. And again, I'm just assuming the show is factual in this regard, but like he didn't actually run for the
Right.
nomination.
Yeah, I'd heard that. Yeah.
But he ended up getting it by like just almost against his will.
Yeah.
It was very interesting to see how that played out. But I will say the dude that plays Charles Guiteau, who's his murderer,
Mhm.
Matthew McFadden, is really good in
Yeah.
this too. He's really
I like
good
him in
this.
general. Like typically.
Yeah,
I've seen
I
him.
think this is the best I've seen him. Honestly, like
Mhm.
this Charles Guiteau is just like he's got some. He sees reality different, and it's
Sure.
just he plays him really interesting.
Cool.
It's a very interesting watch. I recommend it. Like, I was not really. I was like, I'm just watching this for the cast. I don't know, and I actually really enjoyed it, so that was cool.
There you go.
And also on Netflix, I watched that documentary, The Perfect Neighbor.
I watched that too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, this is a doc that's shot about 90% body cam
yeah.
and 100% like either body cam or security footage. Like there's nothing in this movie that is like people doing selfies
Yeah.
on with a camera
Yeah,
or
no
sitting in a
talking
room
heads or
and
anything
yeah.
like that.
So you get to see how these things really truly played out. No
Yeah.
reenactments, and there are parts of this that are absolutely gut wrenching.
Yeah.
I was crying.
As a couple of Floridians here, the whole like stand your ground thing
Yeah.
is kind of a hot button issue here, and I think this documentary, I obviously the instance itself was extremely infuriating, but this made me want more like a doc about just the law in general
Yeah.
and some of the other cases,
Yeah.
because like I think there's just a lot to this that is troubling, to say the least.
Yeah, they highlight a Karen who basically I saw in a comments section as they were kind of describing this movie. I thought the comment was kind of brilliant, but it was like the voice of joy that brought her madness, or the sounds of joy that caused her madness, something to that extent. That's
Sure.
basically what it is. Like she just was obsessed with these kids playing football outside her property,
Yeah.
and they were too noisy, and the only way she could settle was constantly calling the cops or by
Yeah.
cursing at them or saying derogatory things to them or throwing things at them, but it was never her fault.
You're right.
It was always them.
Yeah.
And it's just this as we say nowadays, this perfect Karen
Right.
who just ended up taking things too far, where it's like you could see things slowly escalate.
Yeah.
And I saw some people again in the comments of some articles like bashing the cops, and I felt like for the most part the cops were doing a decent job.
They're trying to do a balancing act, and
Yeah.
and granted, there's only like you only see for the
Oh, for
amount of
sure.
calls that they
Yeah.
got when they went out there. Like I bet we only saw maybe 5% of it.
Yeah.
Because for the amount of times that she called them out there, like you have to think that you're only seeing, a small portion
Yeah.
of the interactions that they had with her.
Sure. But again, like, I mean, the cops were like, they did, like I said, they're trying to do this balancing act. And I do, like, I think it's far-fetched to see, like, they should have saw this coming. A
Right.
murder over, like, kids playing football outside. I
Yeah.
don't know if you jump to murder, but so I don't know, but it's really tough. You see, so obviously she shoots her neighbor, and you see her kid's lifetime reaction
Yeah,
to this.
that
And
is
that is crushing.
that is
absolutely
soul
crushing. You see the moment where their father tells them their mom didn't make it in the
Yeah.
ambulance, and it's like, it is crushing. But things like this need to be made, and they need to be this moving. So
Yeah.
I'm super glad I got to watch it.
Yeah.
And then of course I did watch, as with much like most of America and the world, I imagine, Stranger Things
Yeah.
season 5, volume
Got through it
1.
already. Yeah, it's just 4 episodes. So
Yeah.
it's super fast. But
About
same.
a little over 5 hours of TV, I think.
Yeah.
So, and I'm enjoying it. Like, I think my mindset is, and I don't know if this is the perfect way to say it, but like, to me, this is the third act of the show. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm not expecting a lot of new things to start or a lot of new growth in the characters. I'm expecting them to like be in their final forms, right? Their
Yeah.
final evolution forms, and they are wrapping it up and they are finishing this. And so with that mindset, I'm able to enjoy it. I would like a little more character work, I guess. And there's some characters that are
Yeah,
getting it.
I
But
think there's going
the
to be
cast
some.
is so big, though. You can't have like
Yeah.
20 characters all have an arc in this last season. When you're trying to wrap things up.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it so far. What about you?
Yeah, it's the same. It's very fast forward momentum. It's like a freight train at
Yeah.
this point. Like I feel like these 4 episodes, like a lot happens, but also not a lot happens at the same time
Right.
because it's like it kind of takes place in a relatively short amount of time.
Sure.
I think there's some narrative shortcuts that they're kind of taking with this season that I think feel a little lazy, but it's like okay, like at this point I'll give it to you.
It's like time constraints too.
Right, like some of the stuff's easily gained,
Yeah.
and I do feel like some of the I guess the plans, if you will, feel a little bit more zany than
Yeah.
like you have in past
Yeah.
seasons, where you're kind of like, okay, like this feels like a bit of a stretch.
That you'd be able to
but
get all this
okay.
done. Yeah.
Right,
Or you
or
would even
just-
attempt it.
Right, yeah, like so there's a little
Yeah.
bit of that, but again, it is the final season, so and you kind of like go big or go home. So
Yeah.
I think there's some of that in there as well.
And we are talking about this fancy world of monsters and stuff,
Yeah,
so it's like,
for
all right,
sure.
we don't have to be too grounded in reality, but
Definitely.
there's definitely like that last plan they have in the episode 4 is like that is a risky plan. Like you're
Right.
risking a lot of jail time.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, a little bit of zany, a little bit out there, but I think it wrapped up well enough in this part, but it's still got technically 2 parts to go, so
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes.
And they are long. Those
Yeah.
episodes are going to be long, so there's a lot they can still do,
Yeah.
of course.
I
but-
guarantee that last one's going to be like 2+ hours.
Yeah.
because I mean that's how the last episode of the last season was.
Yeah, no, I don't, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're all about it, like pushing an hour and a half at this point.
Yeah.
I think I saw that when I looked at episode run times. But what else you been watching? Anything else?
Let's see. I've actually watched quite a bit. They recently released like the new trailer for I guess the new prequel Hunger Games movie,
Right.
and it reminded me that I never watched the first one, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Oh, their first like
Yeah, it's like
Separate-
the prequel
yeah,
movie.
guess it's prequel,
yeah. And it's
Spin-off.
it's about Coriolanus Snow's character, so it's like his origin story, if you will. And it was decent. I thought I'd go back and check it out, and it was better than I probably expected it
Okay.
to be. I never read the book. Like I read the first 3 books for the original Hunger Games, but I didn't read the book for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
yeah,
So I have no idea how it kind of correlates as an adaptation, but I think it captures the feel of the original movie. It's the same director, so I think
Yeah.
that's also like a big part of it. But they already had the world in place. But it takes place at the 10th Hunger Games,
okay,
so like the Hunger Games themselves feel a lot different. It almost feels like the Colosseum,
sure,
like in
sure,
in Rome. So it's a much smaller space, and
Yeah.
it kind of goes a lot faster. Like, and they're kind of like figuring out
yeah, that makes sense.
what
I
like
guess.
the things that they're going to put in place that you know of as the Hunger
Yeah.
Games, like sending in food and stuff
Right,
like
right.
that. Like that's like where all of that kind of started and came from. So I think that kind of added an interesting layer, if you will, to the whole
It's a
thing.
long movie, isn't it?
It's over 2.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think they all are. But it's I mean, but it doesn't feel long though.
Okay.
So I guess that's a plus. Let's see. I watched The Conjuring: Last Rites, which is, I guess, the last movie that they're doing.
Sure.
Well, they're supposedly doing a prequel series now,
Yeah.
so I'm just like, okay, but I don't, I have no idea anything about that. But I will say, like, I love the first Conjuring, and I feel like there's kind of like diminishing returns with every subsequent one. So I'm glad they finally finished it. I thought they did a couple of interesting things in this one. It's like their last case or whatever. So their daughter, like their young daughter in the first movie, is now an adult, and like all of these things. And I think it wraps up kind of nicely. It kind of connects back a little bit to the first movie a little bit in that way too. I'm not, as far as the Warrens go, like I'm not a buff or anything about their lives and their cases or anything like that. So, obviously I go into this as more of like a fictionalized experience than anything else. So, and I imagine it for the most part it is. But they kind of kept the same feel that they've kind of had from the beginning. So it kind of, as far as the feel of the series goes, I think they kind of, were able to kind of capture those moments that they, are pretty good at. And there's a couple of little zany out there moments that I thought were fine, but I like Patrick Wilson a lot, like as an actor, and Vera Farmiga. So I like them, and I like watching them. But I am glad this is the last one, because I do think they have no runway left. Let's see. Oh, the big one. We did a whole episode for this. I watched Wicked for Good.
Oh yes.
So
haven't got to it yet.
Yeah, so we went to the theater to see that. Took Mr. Kitty Kaiju to the theater, and we watched Wicked for Good. And it's good. It's hard. It's hard because the second half of this show, in my mind, isn't quite as good as the first half.
Okay.
So the movie kind of suffers because of that. The two best numbers in the whole movie, or the whole show, are in the first half. So there are some good ones in the second half, but they had to add some too. They added
really?
like three or four musical numbers. Yeah, they added like 3 or 4 musical numbers to the movie or something like that.
Yeah.
So that they could kind of fill it out.
Is it a long movie? Because I know
it's not as long as the first one.
I know I heard in the first one they had to add like a half hour, 40 minutes to the first one, or at least they chose to.
Yeah.
I haven't heard so much that they've made up or had to fill in a lot on the back end.
I think it's about a half hour shorter.
And pretty much straight as the play goes, as far as you know. Or
from what I remember, it's been a while since I saw the stage play, and it's obviously way different than the book at this point. It's way off book as far as an adaptation of that goes. And that's always say, like, this movie is an adaptation of the stage show. It is not an adaptation of the book,
right?
Because that is a completely different animal. I love the book. And speaking of Mr. Kitty Kaiju, he and I went and saw Zootopia 2.
Ooh.
Which I thought was pretty good.
Both those movies are crushing at the box office, too, and you've helped.
Yeah, I went to the theater to see both, so I'm contributing in that way. I enjoyed Zootopia 2. I'm still to this day shocked how much I enjoyed Zootopia 1, like the first one, and like I'm a big Bateman fan,
of course.
Like I think it's just it's always fun when a live action actor kind of like is able to play an animated character that you're like, this actually could rank pretty well in like your just performances in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like that with Johnny Depp and Rango. Like,
sure.
Because I love his turn in Rango,
Yeah.
like, and it's an animated movie, but I still think it's probably maybe like one of my favorite Johnny Depp movies, period. So it's kind of that same thing with like Zootopia and Bateman, where I'm just like, you're just really good in this movie.
Yeah,
it's just
but
perfect.
Bateman, I like him when he's in commercials. I'm like, golly, that was a great performance for 30 seconds.
As Bateman?
Yeah, he can pull it all off.
He really can. I love Jason Bateman. I think he's one of the most is it fair to say underappreciated,
very popular
right?
actor.
Underappreciated, popular actor. Yeah, I think Bateman's fantastic. But Zootopia is good. 2 is good. It captures like a lot of the same, vibe of the first one, which I think is great. It's Disney is so hit or miss with a lot of these movies, so it's always nice when they're able to hit. And Zootopia for me, the first one.
Sequels, you're never sure,
and especially with
you're
sequels,
never sure if
it's usually diminishing returns.
Is it a cash grab or is it a real, genuine sequel?
Exactly.
All right. Well, sadly, Rob, we're going to be done with this episode of The Apartment. I feel like we probably could go talk about it for 20 more minutes easily. But this whole movie is about the takers and tookers, and me and Rob, we do not want to be the people that are being took.
That's true.
As audience, you guys are not going to let that happen. You're not going to be takers if you like this podcast, if you subscribe to this podcast, if you leave us a 5-star review, because we're also going to read that live on air someday when you do that. That'd be great. Email us if you want to talk to us at carrayrob@gmail.com, or don't forget, you can reach out to us on Blue Sky.
Absolutely. You can also now follow us on Facebook at Car Ray Rob Podcast Network. If there is a comment section on whatever platform you are listening to us on, please tell me how much you love The Apartment. If you don't, I don't want to hear it. But if you love it, and I know you do, I want to hear it because I love The Apartment. We will be back next week with this month's episode of A Copy of a Copy.
I always love those episodes.
They're fun, and it is our last one of this season. Yep. And you and I will be revisiting the 1987 Wings of Desire by the great Wim Wenders and the 1998 American remake City of Angels,
starring the Goo Goo Dolls.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of people that would actually think that's true. But it stars Nick Cage and Meg Ryan. To be fair, this movie is more than a song. At least from what
that's
I
what we're going to look. We're going to
find out.
What I
remember is the movie more than a song. That's a fair point. But we will be back in 2 weeks, and it will be Ray's final episode of this season of Say Hello to My Little Film. Yep. And I just set the bar.
Yeah.
Real high.
You did. I'm going to have a movie that you might like, but you might find triggering. So we'll see how it goes.
Oh my God. I bring you this and you bring me that. All right, just so
some people get coal for Christmas.
That's so Raymond. But then after that, we will have our final episode of the season of Hello Movies, My Old Friend, where Ray and I are going to be revisiting the hockey sports classic Mystery Alaska.
I feel cold already.
I do, and I remember liking that movie, but I really can't remember much about it.
Can't say the last time I saw it.
Yeah, agreed. So, we're going to see if it still holds up. But you're not going to want to miss it. So until then, this is Car Ray Rob.
Where I'm Ray.
And I'm Rob. And remember, be defined by the films you love, not the ones you hate.
Hey there, it'll be just a little while till Ray and Rob spit their spittle. Come on, check out of the hospital. So grab some of your best peanut brittle. This will be a darn good transmittal. And say hello to my little film.
Hey everyone, Ray here. I want to give you a sneak peek about what my episode is going to be about in 2 weeks. I'm going to present to Rob the 2017 Chris Evans movie Gifted, starring McKenna Grace, Lindsay Dunran, Octavia Spencer, and Jenny Slate. It's about an uncle who's taking care of his niece. A custody battle kind of ensues between him and his mother over McKenna Grace's character. It's a really heartwarming movie. There's going to be some interesting things to talk about, so I definitely recommend, if you guys haven't checked out Gifted in a minute or ever, go see it before our next episode.